I'm a fourth generation rancher from here in the Sand Hills, Polk County. I graduated from high school in this room up there on that stage where you're sitting, as did a lot of people who are in this room right now. I'm here because I believe this proposed pipeline route poses a serious risk to the Sand Hills and the Ogallala Aquifer. This pipeline is not in our national interest. Increasing our reliance on foreign oil and sacrificing our rights, our water, our land, and our health for a foreign company's profits is not in our national interest. Because the proposed route of this pipeline crosses the Sand Hills, because it crosses the recharge zone of the aquifer, and because TransCanada and Cardinal Intrix have been unwilling to consider alternate routes, I have no choice but to oppose this pipeline. I ask that you deny the permit. And I think that a lot of people in here are talking about how proposed alternate routes are not preferable. Well, the Keystone Alternate Corridor Route 2 in the Federal Environmental Impact Statement is 212 miles shorter than the proposed route. It follows the existing right-of-way, which allows for efficiency of safety monitoring. It impacts fewer acres of land and would affect 19% fewer wells. There are also 8 other alternative routes that are very poorly designed. So I think we should look at the one that's the best idea. TransCanada and their supporters say that we who oppose this pipeline are unreasonable, extremist fearmongers. They accuse us of being misguided and of spreading half-truths. Well, if we are misguided and spreading half-truths, it is because TransCanada has misguided us and has told us only half the truth. I defy TransCanada's paid scientists and contractors to show me one study that has been done on a spill in the Ogallala Aquifer. There is no such study that exists. The study that you're basing your information on was done in Bemidji, Minnesota, and as isolated as that spill may be, it is long-lasting. It has been 30 years, and that oil and those chemicals are still there. And long-lasting spills are just as dangerous as widespread spills. I have been to Marshall, Michigan. I have seen the damage done by the Enbridge diluted bitumen pipeline that happened in July 2010. I was there a year after that happened, and it still wasn't cleaned up. It polluted 40 miles of that watershed. I saw it, I smelled it, I got it on these boots, and it don't wash off. Anyone who says diluted bitumen isn't a threat to water is lying. There are people in Marshall, Michigan who are sick. There are people in Marshall who are dying from exposure to unknown chemicals. There are people in Marshall who have dumpsters full of dead birds, semi-trailers full of dead animals that were killed by drinking the water, and have seen their neighbors one by one come down with rare disorders and cancers. We need to know what chemicals make up the diluent and dilute bitumen. That information is in our national interest, and suppressing it, as TransCanada and Intrix have done, is a threat to our national security. Yeah. As tragic as that spill was, and as tragic as the spill in the Yellowstone River was, these provide us with an important opportunity, and they are important because of how environmentally expensive this opportunity is. We have the opportunity to learn about the effects of oil spills in waterways. We have the opportunity to do some serious looking at what happens when this oil and these chemicals get into rivers like the Niagara, the Elkhorn, the Platte, Holt Creek, and all the other rivers it's going to cross on its way to Texas. There is no reason to rush into building this pipeline when we don't know what can happen to our water and to our people. When TransCanada's paid lobbyists say that this pipeline is safe, when TransCanada's hired experts say there's no threat to the aquifer, when TransCanada's contractor, Cardinal Intrix, says that risks of contamination to the aquifer and damage to the Sand Hills is not significant enough to warrant concern, they're saying something else. They're saying that the people here, and our basic human rights, and our basic human needs, and our simple way of life are of no consequence to them. As a citizen of Nebraska and a person from this community who loves this place, as a human being, I resent that statement. I repudiate it for its arrogance. Yes. Arrogance based on ignorance is the chief attitude exuded by TransCanada, its representatives, and its hired contractors. They say we use fear tactics to fight their so-called facts. Facts that have been bought and paid for to be published and played. I think it is TransCanada who is afraid. They are afraid that all the money they have spent on ad campaigns can't buy them truth. They are afraid that all the money they have spent on lobbyists haven't bought them consent. They are afraid because they can't buy our trust and they have done nothing to earn it.
Can you please wrap up your comments?
Yes. They are afraid because we refuse to believe the lie that their profits are more important than our basic human rights. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." I agree. The water in this aquifer might be important to us, but soon it will be important to the world. This proposed pipeline is both an injustice and a threat to our water. It is an injustice to the people along its route, from First Nations people in Alberta, Canada, whose Athabasca River watershed is being contaminated, to farmers and ranchers here in Polk County, Nebraska, where our sand hills will be denuded and polluted. All the way down to people in near refineries in Port Arthur, Texas, whose air will be poisoned by the processing of this dirty oil. Speaking of oil, people who say that we are bound to it are wrong. People who say that we need this oil for our economy or it will fail are wrong. People who say that our country cannot change are using the same rhetoric used to justify slavery. Just as slavery built and fueled the economy of the South and gave way to freedom for African Americans, just as the exploitation of workers who built and fueled our industrial economy gave way to unionization and organized labor, so too will our addiction to foreign oil give way to energy independence. And to quote a Nebraska state senator who spoke on Tuesday, Tony Fulton, the path of energy independence does not run through the sandhills. You, the union workers, can help us. You can help us build wind turbines and solar farms and hydroelectric generators. You can help us retrofit our houses and retrofit our government buildings and our office buildings. You can help us build more efficient cars. You can help us build more efficient engines. You can help us develop solutions that don't take us steps back in centuries. I oppose the proposed Keystone XL pipeline. It is not in the national interest. Its perceived benefits are based on false assumptions, flawed logic, and failed rhetoric. I also oppose the use of third-party contractors hired by the corporation that is under review to write our federal environmental impact statements. I challenge all information in the environmental impact statement that has been written by former TransCanada employees, representatives, and representatives of Cardinal Entrance. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.